Hey, it's Shana. Welcome to Controlled Chaos, the podcast where we dive into the world of recovery, sharing stories of experience, strength, and hope from those who have been there and made it through. No matter where you are in your battle with addiction, alcoholism, or mental health struggles, know that there is a way out. Throughout my sobriety journey, I have often felt alone and doubted my ability to even stay sober. Starting this podcast in my room just 2 months ago, I had a dream of reaching people just like me, those who felt hopeless. As a woman in recovery, I began with 0 followers, but with a dream of offering hope to even just one person. The mission of this podcast is to connect, inspire, and provide hope to those feeling lost or struggling with addiction. Remember, the opposite of addiction and isolation is sobriety and connection. Let's come together through the Controlled Chaos podcast and support each other on the journey to healing and growth. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and let's build a community of support and understanding. Love you mucho. Welcome to Controlled Chaos. My name is Shana and I'm your host today. We have Kate here with us today, who is just an amazing influencer, but so many other things also. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, about my sober self or just me in general? What do you want to know?
Just about we'll go with what you've been doing on Instagram first and kind of how you got there.
To be honest, I wasn't even going to set up an Instagram account, and I did it after I stopped drinking, and I was about 100 days in, and I thought I need something else. I need a bigger community to keep me accountable. So I used it as a kind of diary, and I started putting in content about how I felt, the things that were going through my mind, the things I was dealing with, what I thought when I was bored, when I was sad, happy. And actually, it just seemed to build. And I'm one of these people that cannot pretend to be someone else. If I've got something on my mind, I just say it. And it's so nice to have a platform where people can respond to you. And people have been so incredible. And, when I started my account a couple of years ago, there wasn't a huge sober community. And everyone sort of knew each other. And every time you went on, someone was around and they'd comment and give you advice, or they'd send you a DM or a voice note and go, "You've got this, keep going." And I just found it incredible. And it's sort of built from there. I mean, I love messing around with videos and editing. My job is a kind of in media. So it allows me to be creative at the same time as talk about something that has completely changed my life. So it just sort of worked that way. And I'm a bit silly. I don't take life too seriously. So I try and have fun with it. I'm not, people know I don't brush my hair for 3 days, and I don't look in the mirror until 1 o'clock, and then I record myself. And, I'm just what you see is what you get. But I've loved it, and I have made some genuine friends, and it allows me to speak to people like you. I mean, look, we're on a Sunday afternoon. I'm in the UK, you're in the US, and we're having a chat. I mean, it opens so many doors. It's allowed me to meet so many really cool people from all over the world. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
I love that. So what about what was it like growing up, and kind of what brought you to the part where you were drinking too much? Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, I've got American parents, and I grew up in London, and I have 3 siblings, and we're a year apart. So we lived in a big house, and it was busy. It was loud. My dad was a publisher, and we had lots of authors and illustrators around at our house all the time. People like Roald Dahl and Doris Lessing and Salman Rushdie and Quentin Blake. These people were just roaming around my house and having dinner. And they were so cool. They were just my idols, and they were there. But they were always drinking. And, even when I was about 7 or 8, I would look at these gatherings, and my parents probably had dinner parties 3 or 4 times a week. And I would just think, I cannot wait to be one of these cool grown-ups. I can't wait to have parties and look at these beautiful glasses. They've got kind of blue and golden and red and what's a gin and tonic, and look at that wine and that beautiful glass. So I always associated alcohol with success and socializing and friends and people laughing. So I really, even before I was 10, I was looking forward to drinking because I didn't understand there was any harm in it. And by the time I was about 14, I'm tall, I'm 5'11", and I've always looked older than I am. So I used to go and buy beer in the local shop, for my friends at 14, and we'd go and we'd jump the fence of a school playing field, and we would just go sit and drink beer and smoke and listen to music and just hang out. And I just started by doing that. And it was like, that's what everyone who was 14 and 15 were doing. No one questioned it. We got drunk, we blacked out, we embarrassed ourselves, but we were like, this is just part of growing up. We're the cool ones.
Right.
But it kind of never stopped. It developed. Then I started going to pubs. In England, you can go to pubs from 18. I was going into them at 16 because I looked like I was 20. Then I went to wine bars. Then I started working in media and I started going out for drinks at lunch. And before I knew it, my whole 20s had gone. And I was drinking every day. I was drinking every day after work. I would go to the pub and I'd stay for either an hour or 5 hours. It was
Can I ask a question real quick? Because I always am curious about this. You were drinking every day, right? But did you feel like, were you always sick when you were trying to go to work, or were you feeling like the effects of when you weren't drinking? Like, do you think you were physically addicted? Okay, so you're just drinking like too much.
But I didn't realize it was too much because everyone I hung around with went to the pub after work. Because if you didn't, you went home, and only the kind of married, old, boring people went home. That's in inverted commas. Yeah, I'm like, that's what I thought. So I wanted to hang out. I was really sociable. I wanted to go out. So I'd either go out with friends from school and meet them. I'd go out with my work colleagues. It was just, everyone did it. And no one questioned it. No one said, you're drinking too much. They would question if you didn't go out. Like, why aren't you out? Oh, it's a Tuesday, I'm tired. Oh, come on, don't be so stupid. Come on. So no. And if I didn't have a drink, I didn't start shaking or thinking I really need a drink, because I could have days off, but why would I? Because I didn't get hangovers. You know, I was the first in at work. I never had days off sick. I was a really good employee. I didn't feel the effects of alcohol the next day. Even if I'd had 2 bottles of wine, I'd be up at 6, showered, I'd be at work early, and I'd do my job. So in a way, that was a negative because it didn't stop me from drinking. But no, I mean, it was just what we do. And in England, the pub culture is huge. I mean, I honestly think about 80% of my office went to the pub after work every day. It was just part of the day extended. It's where people went to unwind before they went on to do whatever else they were doing that evening, you know?
Yeah, so it was kind of just part of the culture.
Just part of the culture, and it still is. I mean, it's changing a bit, but, you know, it was just like that. And then I actually moved to New York in my early 20s. And I remember I was actually in New York on the eve of my 21st birthday. And I went to a club and they were like, let me see your ID. And I was like, well, look, this is my British passport. I know I'm not 21 till tomorrow, but in England, it's tomorrow. So I am actually 21. And they said, for the first time ever, we are going to let you in because we think this would fly with the police. So I got let in. They're like, it's the first time we've ever let someone legally under 21 in. But, you know, I went over there and I just picked it up. As soon as I got to New York, I found my people. I found the people who went to the pubs. I found the Irish communities, the Irish bars, and I just carried on. And actually, I do remember thinking when I was in my late 20s, a lot of people have stopped doing this. Should I stop? But what else would I do? And it's really weird because I did start to think, I'm not growing, I'm not developing. All my money that I make, I'm spending on partying and going out. I'm not actually building a sort of life. My mental brain is stunted. Alcohol's clearly doing something. And I was getting in accidents. You know, I was a clumsy drunk sometimes. I would fall over. I got hit by cars. I'd fall through glass doors. I've had so many accidents and I was embarrassing as well sometimes. But I just kept on going because it was almost like, well, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing this since I was 14. It's who I am. It's what people expect from me. People expect me to go out. They know they're going to drink a lot. They know they're going to have fun. But actually, I was always the one who drank the most. And I started to feel like a bit of a clown, like a puppet. Like they like the fact that I'm always the one who gets the drunkest. I'm always the one who buys the rounds. there's something not right. So I think in my late 20s, I started to feel a bit of a negative feeling towards alcohol. I started to question, was it taking something from me? But it didn't stop me. I carried on into my 30s, and it was taking something from me. And I look back now and I think, what could I have achieved if I'd stopped? But it was scary. The thought of drinking was so much scarier. Of stopping drinking was so much scarier than what it was doing to me. So, I just got into this loop of, well, my friends won't want to go out with me if I stop. And
Right.
yeah.
So what kind of led you to eventually stopping?
Well, I went on and I had a couple of kids, and I lived in Italy for a while, and I stopped drinking when I was pregnant, but I picked up again afterwards. And I just it was getting really like dirty, I think is the word. My drinking wasn't fun anymore. I was sitting at home, I was watching TV, I was drinking. My kids, one of my daughter brought me a glass of wine on Mother's Day for my breakfast and said, "It's your favorite drink, mummy." And I was kind of like, this is not cool. This is not the mum I wanted to be. This is not the woman I wanted to be in my 40s. I've got to sort this out. And that was playing on my mind a lot because I was still drinking every night, at least a bottle of wine. It wasn't even touching the sides. I wouldn't get drunk on a bottle of wine. Bearing in mind, I've been drinking since I was 14. My body could take so much more.
Right.
And then I got really drunk one night on the 20th of December, 2021. And I pulled out my phone and I recorded myself, and I burst into tears, and I was sobbing, and I was saying, "This isn't you. This isn't who you are. Please stop doing this." So I was kind of begging my sober self to stop as my drunk self. And the next morning I sort of remembered doing it, and I watched a bit of it, and I couldn't watch all of it. I actually didn't watch it all for months because it was so cringy, but it had an impact. And actually I thought, enough is enough. If I don't stop now, I'm never going to. And I was overweight by, not loads, but I looked awful. That puffy alcohol look where your face is just like a chipmunk and you're red. And you can just tell it's alcohol. It's not that I've eaten too much food. I'm drinking and I'm looking gross. And I didn't look in the mirror. I didn't like myself. I had all this shame and guilt of, I'm just sitting here drinking every night. And it just, something clicked, and I got angry for the first time in my life. Instead of being scared of not drinking, I got angry at alcohol and everything it had taken from me. And I started this kind of internal battle. And I've got this thing where I'm a very visual person. I did really badly at school when I just sat there and was told, like, this is the Tudors and then the Victorians. My brain's making up all these stories, and, I'm just not listening. But if I make up these kind of images, and I kind of imagine myself fighting for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my life. And it was me against alcohol. And in a way that worked for me, because I thought, if I don't make it this dramatic, I won't do it. And I just got on this kind of mission. And day by day, I was like, no, I am not letting you take any more from me. And it got me through those first tricky months, just feeling that way. And then by the time I started to think, I really want to drink again, I'd kind of gotten into my groove and I was loving it. But that's when I joined Instagram, because I thought, I need more accountability here. I need this. If I'm telling people on a worldwide platform, I'm on day 70, I'm on day 120, it kind of makes me feel less tempted to drink, because I know that they're rooting for me, and it worked. And that's basically what took me up to here.
I love that. So you talked about your kids a little bit, and were you married? Like, are you married?
I am now. I wasn't then, but I did marry the father of my children. I don't really do things in a standard way. And actually, I'd only been going out with my husband for about 3 months. And we decided to move to Italy. And then I found out I was pregnant, and we'd never even lived together. I mean, I don't even think I knew his middle name. And I'm like, I'm pregnant. Are we still moving abroad? We don't speak Italian. Let's do it. So my son was born in Rome.
I love that. So your husband at the time and your kids, did they have anything to say about your drinking? Like, did they notice, or is it kind of because most people lived that way there? Was it kind of just like, we just all drink a lot.
I mean, my husband, who's still my husband, he drank every evening as well. You know, we just sat there. So, I mean, he knew that I would get much more argumentative and much more emotional after I'd had a drink, and it was causing friction in our relationship without a doubt. But that was not all to do with me, but it definitely a lot of it was. So I didn't do it for him, but for my kids, definitely, I think they noticed, and they didn't say anything because you love your parents. And I think they were scared rather than angry. They hadn't reached the age where they were angry. They were worried. Oh, I don't like it when mum drinks because she starts slurring and then she's going to hurt herself. She's going to have an argument with dad. We don't want to stay at this party until 1 a.m. You know, we want to go home and we're having to get in a taxi. And they have since told me all of this stuff. And they were as soon as I stopped, they were writing me notes like 1 week sober, mum, well done, and leaving them on my desk. And it made me realize how much they had noticed because, you know, they were 12 and 10 when I stopped. And we've had lots of conversations since, and actually that's kept me going because, and funnily enough, I posted about this yesterday. I went for a walk with my son yesterday, who's 15, and he said, I can't remember you drinking, mum. And I never thought I would get to that point. I hoped, but I thought it's unlikely. But they just don't remember that to the point where they just think, oh, my mum doesn't drink. And I'm so grateful that I managed to stop in time before that resentment started to kick in, you know. And they've seen me say, this stuff isn't good for me. I know it isn't. And I held my hands up and I've been very honest and open about it. And I've said sorry. And I've said, I don't know why I was doing it. But they've seen me say, you can walk away from things when they're not good for you. And for me, rather than beat myself up about the fact that I would be drinking every night when my kids were upstairs, I'd cut story time short because I wanted to get downstairs and have a drink. All those things that made me feel awful. I've thought, well, I've made a change. They've learned something huge here because they've watched me make a change. They know that if something is not serving you in life, if it's hurting you, you can walk away and you should walk away. So I feel like I've balanced it all out a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I have actually 2 older daughters and then I have a younger daughter. So it's kind of weird for me because my older daughters went through a lot of it with me, right? And my youngest daughter, she just told me the other day too, like, I don't remember you drinking and I don't even really know what that means.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
I was like, oh, wow, okay. You know, it's a completely different life for her than it was for my other kids. And I try to be happy for that, for like the change, right?
Yeah. And your older kids must have told you how proud they are of you.
They are. They're very proud of me. And we've been through a lot together. I had my oldest when I was 16. So it's like, it was a lot, right? And I think we've all grown a lot. But it's weird how, you know, when they don't really remember and you're like, I guess that's a good thing, right? And also they know the things that can come from it, right? They know that some people don't do well with it. So your husband, does he drink then still, or?
He did for the first 2 years of my sobriety. He drank, and I don't actually mind being around people who are drinking. It really doesn't bother me. I'm not even just saying that to try and seem like it's, you know, not a big deal. But I don't like being around drunk people, and I won't be. And actually, I draw the line, and I think I'm completely within my rights. I've had dinner parties at home, and I've gone to bed and left people downstairs because I'm like, no, enough. And I don't feel guilty. It's like, if you wanna have a conversation with me about this tomorrow, feel free. But of course, they never do because it's like, oh, so sorry. But he did for the first few years, and it got to the point where I thought it's really tricky, isn't it? Because I don't know your situation and whether you've got a partner, whether they drink, but for me, it was like, I know I can't tell him to stop because it has to be your decision. I know I can't threaten him and go, I'm leaving. But the truth is, I don't want to be married to someone who drinks every night.
Yes.
So how do I deal with this? And it's a really tricky situation. And it's not one you can get advice about from other people because every relationship is so different. What works perfectly for one couple would destroy another. So you really have to work it out for yourself. But for me, being honest is always the right way, because actually if someone cares about me, they should care about how I feel. So by telling someone how I feel rather than telling them what I want them to do, I thought I can't go wrong. So I did say, I don't want to be with someone, and you can do whatever you want, but I'm finding it quite boring. And I just need you to know that, because 5 years down the line, when I pack my bags, I don't want it to come out of the blue. I want to be honest. And actually on January the 1st, he stopped and he's quit for a year. Well, he's kind of 9 months in. So I don't know what will happen after that, whether he'll drink again, but it's been so nice to not have alcohol in the house, and also not to be with someone who I can see it. You can see what it does to people's eyes, to their moods in the morning, and that face, that red puffy face, and I've realized how gross alcohol is and how dangerous it is since I've been reading up on it the last couple of years. And I don't want someone I love to put that stuff in their system. So that's how I feel. And it's not a judgmental, don't drink because I don't. It's like, imagine if I started taking heroin, you wouldn't want me to, because people are scared of it. But alcohol is really scary. And once you know that, it's very hard to sit and watch someone do it. So that's where we're at the moment. We'll see.
Well, that's really cool. Congrats to him, regardless of where it goes. I think it's always good for people to see what it's like to not drink. Like if it changes their life, if they do like it more. My husband is actually in recovery, but he's in recovery from drugs. So when we first met, he would still drink sometimes, but I was a chronic relapser. So it really wasn't I don't think I would have been able to stay with somebody who drank. And that's just the real. Now that I'm sober 3 years, I'm fine going places where people are drinking and having their life. And when they get too drunk, I'm out. Like, it's not my
boring,
favorite.
Isn't it?
Right. I can't, the stuff that they find funny for no reason is just not funny to me because I'm not drunk. Right. So it just makes no sense to be there because I'm not in that space. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh gosh, can we go to bed?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So guess I really did. He knew that I couldn't have had alcohol in my house for probably at least the first year. I would have never survived that. And that's just the fact. Like if I was like on a life or death type of tip, and it was like, I can't have that there and have that chance. And I think he quit within like the first few weeks of us dating, and it's kind of just become part of his sobriety. And I don't know that we ever really had that conversation, but I think he.
But I love the fact you didn't have to. I love the fact you didn't have to have that conversation with him. That's love, isn't it? That's someone going, like what you've just told me. He obviously worked that out from the first couple of weeks and said, this is never going to work for her. I got to give it up because she's more important than having a drink. And I think that's so cool. And that's wonderful. And that's what we all hope will happen, I think.
Right. Because it would have been, I don't know what would have happened if he would have kept drinking. It probably wouldn't have been a thing for us. And we've done really good together. So yeah, I kind of, like you said earlier, everybody's relationships are so different. So when we talk about it, it's hard for you to like give advice or this is what you should do, and some people are okay with having alcohol in their home or things like that. But I had spent probably since I was 14 years old, the most I had ever been sober was 2 months, and I had been to rehab numerous times. I've done all the things. So once I got to like 6 months or even a year, I was like, I just want to be this way. Like, I don't want it. I don't want it to be like chance,
What made it stick for you? Sorry, do you mind if I ask that? Like, what made it stick for you the final time? Was it?
Truthfully, I had worked in drug treatment and alcohol treatment for a long time, and I was constantly relapsing during that. And what I had always tried was just AA, because that's what I kind of had been taught working in treatment, is this is what you do. And I still love like the AA program, and I love meetings, don't get me wrong, but I think there's this push that you do this program and you get sober, and if that doesn't work for you, you don't want it. You haven't tried hard enough type of deal. And for me, I needed more than that. I needed something different. So I ended up getting on medication, and that was always really looked down upon, which is funny because I kept relapsing for 2 decades. So like, be drunk or just take some medicine, right?
Yeah.
The first time I got the shot for my sobriety, I never drank again. So it really, really stopped. I had a lot of, have you ever heard people talk about like food noise when they're talking about like dieting and all that stuff?
No.
I had, even after I would get sober, like months later, I had so much noise and chatter in my brain about like drinking, like just one. You can just have one. You could just go do that and nobody's going to know and all this stuff. And I would always end up drinking, always.
Yeah.
And when I ended up getting on the medication, it just went away. Like if I think about alcohol right now, I'm like, I have a really good life. Like, I don't want to live like I lived before. I can like play the tape forward, right? Like they talk about before, it was like right now I want alcohol and that's what matters. And I would talk myself out of all the negative consequences that are coming.
Yeah.
Like I would be like,
Or you
no,
just
that's
say,
not
I'll
gonna
get
happen.
through it. You know, you
like
become this
it's
kind
whatever.
of constantly in survival mode, and you almost are proud of the fact that you're not dead, that you've managed to get through that car crash again, or, you know, I'm still alive. I know it was a nightmare, but I'm here. But it's really interesting you say that, because I was like that. And it's very much, the society now is very much about what you want now and not thinking forward. And I find it still very boring to go, don't have something now because you can have more in the future. I am not that kind of person. It frustrates me. I'm like, I'll deal with the consequences. I just want it and let's see where it goes. But actually, I have changed since I've stopped drinking. And I think much more about the long-term plan.
Yes.
And that's what shifts things in your life, because you're not constantly either recovering or chasing things. You think, what's best for me? You know, yes, I might have lost those friends, but I know that down the line I'm going to meet other people who are going to be much better friends, and I'm going to be genuinely have connections to them. It's things like that. Your brain starts to work differently, doesn't it? And
it does. For instance, even like as far as working or everyday life, when I was drinking, I would work just to survive. I was barely making it through the day because I was sick. I hated what I was doing, all these things. And now that I'm sober, I was able to like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, and work towards that, right? And even you, like, you just started a new job that you like are passionate about, right?
Yeah.
And would you have been able to do that in the same way if you were drinking? Because I know you were a very
absolutely not.
I know you were a very functioning alcoholic, but it's still a bit different, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't call myself an alcoholic. I never went to AA, and I don't like labeling myself.
Right.
Because, you know, I don't see it as helpful. And this is where when I put some posts up, I get loads of comments going, oh, well, if you're drinking alcohol-free beer, then you're still an alcoholic. You're still drinking effectively. And it's like, oh, well, no, I don't really see it that way. But I don't like the word. And it's because of the association with it from when I was younger. And that's fine. But that's my honest view of it. I don't think it helps me to call myself that. I know people who have said by admitting that and using that word, it's absolutely the reason they're sober. So again, we're so different. But for me, I drank in the evening. I didn't secret drink. I didn't drink during the day. I could have a day off and I didn't get shakes. I didn't get, it was like, well, of course I can have a day off. And I could, but I'm like, well, why would I? But then the fact is that I was choosing to, and the fact is that I was looking forward to it. My brain was thinking about it. I clearly was. I didn't have awful hangovers, but it clearly was affecting me. And I didn't want a full-time job because I work from home and I have done for 15 years. And it's like, why would I not be able? I love being at home because I can just wake up slowly. I can do my work when I want to. Why would I want to have to get up at 7:30 and go into an office every day? But now I know I'm never going to be hungover. I'm never going to feel like that. So you're right. The only thing I worry about are office parties because I don't want to stand there kind of going, while everyone's getting drunk and them going, you're making us feel uncomfortable. But I don't think that'll be a problem.
Right. I think you'll probably get through it. Bring your NA beers and leave early.
Exactly. I just don't like doing it anymore. I'd much rather go on a walk or go for a coffee or have dinner with one friend, you know, and I've always been a bit like that. But I really don't enjoy the thought of going to a loud party where everyone's drinking. People sort of say, don't you miss it? It's like, I don't want to go. People don't invite me, but would say no anyway. Right. Your life changes. I'm getting old. I'm getting older. I don't want to be that person anymore, falling out of a pub and making a fool of himself. You know, I got arrested and got held overnight in a police cell when I went to a knitting club on a Tuesday night and ended up telling a policeman to F off because my friend was in the curb. You know, I had a couple of kids at home and it's like, what am I doing? I'm a kind of living in a really nice suburb and I'm out here getting carted off in a police car. Like, come on, Kate, get your stuff together. This is not cool anymore. You know, it's not.
I love that. So I want to talk about this because you brought it up and it's a good point. And it actually goes to the point that I was talking about earlier, where people in recovery oftentimes think this is how you do it. And if you do anything else, then you're not doing it right. Right? You brought up NA beers and things like that. And what's funny is for the first 2 years, I never touched anything like that because I was scared. Like I was so scared. I'd always been told it's bad. And as I got into this Instagram community and all of that, I was like, because you do, there's a little bit of an association, right, with having a pretty glass with a grown-up drink and all of these things. And I started doing little mixed drinks or whatever, alcohol-free drinks that they show on their little channels and stuff like that. And do you know, it's one of my favorite things to do now. So I do it all the time. And I call myself an alcoholic and I don't like NA beers, so I wouldn't do that. But the little mixed drinks that they make and stuff, I'll do those recipes. And listen, I don't always want to go somewhere and drink a Coke, right? I want a drink too. So I actually really think they're useful.
I think they're useful too. And they really helped me because early on, if I did have this kind of craving, which I still don't know if it was a craving or if it was an association, because it would be a certain time of night. I'd be in a certain room and it would be like, this is when you have a drink.
This is what you do.
Yeah. And I never drank beer. So for me, I like NA beers because I never drink alcohol-free wine. I don't like it for a start, but I don't think I'd enjoy that. I'm not trying to replace something, but I'm just I want something to drink that's different, you know, and I like
adulty. But you are right. So I was a liquor drinker, but I don't do those, is it spirits or whatever, where they're alcohol free, but they're the
they're
liquor.
Gross anyway, most of them.
Yeah, I don't do that because I feel like that would be real close to, but I do other things. And I really like it. And I feel like when I'm working with women who are trying to quit drinking and who have kind of almost similar stories to you or some of the other girls that we know from Instagram, where they weren't necessarily physically dependent, right? But it was definitely affecting their life and not good for their health, right? A lot of times they just want something I'm out with my friends and I want to be doing something too, right? Or I always do it at this time. And it's it's like when you quit smoking and you have that, well, what do I do with my coffee on the porch?
Exactly.
So I know it works for people.
It does work. And for some people it doesn't, and that's fine. It's if you're nervous about having one, don't have it. If you think it might make you want the real one. But for me, I wasn't, and it helped because when I did feel like I needed something, I'd open an NA beer and it completely went away. And, you know, there's all this stuff about 0.5, but it's sourdough bread and bananas have 0.5 alcohol in it. They're fine. And someone drank, I think 3 bottles. They did a live and they drank 3 bottles of NA 0.5 wine and then did a breathalyzer and it was 0. Yeah. And it's there's nothing, you're safe. But if it's mental, isn't it? If it triggers something in your brain, or if you're worried about it, stay away from it, because there's loads of stuff. I mean, really, if it wasn't called NA beer, or like, I like the sparkling rosé stuff, I really like that. If it was called something else, then we'd be fine with it. It's because they call it non-alcoholic beer, wine, Prosecco. That's what I think gets people, because there's so many drinks out there that don't have alcohol in them that no one has a problem with. So there's always something for someone. But I think having a nice glass with some ice and a piece of mint, or whatever it is, some nice ice cubes, like some of the ice cubes people make are like pieces of art. Have you seen those where they like twist up bits of lemon, orange? I want to be one of those people. I haven't quite grasped it yet.
Right.
But it's
I want to do that. Yes.
Yeah, it's fun. And why should we stop?
Right. And that's kind of part of why I got on Instagram to begin with, because my story is so much about like trying to get like the results I wanted with this one solution, and thinking like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. And the truth is we're all different. Like something might work for you and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, in order to recover, or in order to get a better life, you're going to make some changes, and you're going to make some changes that work for you.
Yeah.
I really, really hate exercising. So I have to trick myself into it, right? Like, I could go to the park with my kids and play basketball with my husband, or do something fun. But like, am I going to go for a run at 5 a.m.? Not a chance, right? So like, I don't know why we look at recovery so different. It's so weird that we're like, you have to do this.
But I think you've got a really good point there. And I think that's why Instagram works, is because instead of giving advice, I think I tell my story and people can take what they want. I can say, this is what I've done. This is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. This is my story. This is the experience. This is the outcome. And this is how I did it. Take from it what you want, but we're not the same. But maybe it will work. And Instagram is thousands of different people's stories of this is what I did, this is where I am. So you can watch them and you can get bits from each story, and you can use those to try things. And when things fit with you, the whole picture, you don't have to go, now that person's what I want, I'm going to do exactly what they're doing. You can say, she did this, she did this, he did this, I'm going to try these, and that combination will work for you. And that's why it's so good, because there's so much information, there's so many personal stories, and people are so honest. It's incredible the things that people share that are so private, and so some of them are huge things that people have been through, and they're so open about sharing their stories because they know it will help people feel less ashamed. And I admire so many people that I've met on this platform. But that's why it's great. And you can do it in secret if you want. You can create an account. You can have a completely anonymous account, and you can just listen to other people until you feel ready to take the next step, and it is so powerful for that reason.
It is. I love that. So is there anything, if you had to leave people with something, people that were thinking about getting rid of alcohol in their life, anything that you would say or want them to know, what's something you would tell them?
That's a really tricky question. I've been asked it before, and it's one of those things where I don't want to say the wrong thing, because like we just said, if it doesn't impact people, I don't want them to go, oh, well, that doesn't make sense to me, I may as well keep drinking. But not that they're going to do exactly what I say. But I just think, if you think about your life and the potential you have, and looking back on your life in particular, do you want to look back on your life and go, I drank every night and I knew it was bad for me, but it was so important to me that I let everything else lessen because of it? Or do you want to look back and go, I made a huge decision in my life, I went against the grain, I went against society, and I stopped something, and it changed everything? Because I have not met anyone who has a drink problem, which is definitely what I had. I drank every night. That's a problem. I haven't met anyone who's quit who hasn't said their life has improved vastly and they have become a much better version of themselves. Don't miss out on that opportunity. We get one chance at this. You've given alcohol a chance. What's it giving you back? Try. What's the worst that can happen? Because I can tell you the worst that can happen if you don't try is severe, as you know, as I know, is really bad. So give it a go and just see, and the proof will be there in front of you. Is that too long?
No, I love that. If people want to find you, check out your content, all that jazz, can you tell them where they would go, where they find you, all that jazz?
I am just on one place. I am walking the straight line on Instagram, and that's it at the moment. And because I'm working, I can't see me taking on any more social media accounts, but that's where I am. And, I'm just honest, and hopefully you'll get something from it, but you will always get genuine me from it. And I will always reply to people if they have a question or they send me a DM. So I'm always there to help if anyone needs it.
I love that. And I do love your content. You can find me always at Controlled Chaos Coaching or Shana Epps, probably on every platform. Right now, we do have the sobriety system going where we're helping women get sober and stay sober. So you can always sign up for that program. We have a lot of women going through it and kicking butt right now. So come join us. And I thank you so much for coming on, Kate. You're a gem.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much.
As we conclude this powerful episode of Controlled Chaos, a recovery podcast, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every listener who has joined us on this journey of resilience and renewal. These stories are shared with the hope that someone out there struggling in the shadows of addiction may find a glimmer of hope and inspiration. If you're listening and in need of support on your own path to sobriety, please remember that you are not alone. Visit my website at www.controlledchaoscoaching.com and schedule a discovery call today. Together we can explore the possibilities of healing, growth, and a brighter future ahead. Thank you for being a part of this community, for your courage in facing your challenges, and for believing in the power of transformation. Remember, there's always hope, and help is within reach. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and keep moving forward on your journey to recovery. Love you mucho.